Welcome to your Week 9 preview with the Los Angeles Rams coming into Lambeau for the fourth straight season. Want to start off this episode by saying that how quickly things can change in a matter of 6 weeks. It was just six weeks ago that Jordan Love was leading the Packers back in dramatic fashion against the New Orleans Saints and pumping up the crowd at the end of regulation. Everybody's in pure jubilation. Just wanted to plug that word because I don't know if I've ever used it. Pure excitement. Things are looking up. Fast forward to this week, and the front office has made some moves showing that we are, in fact, in a rebuild. So that said, let's go ahead and open up the tab of this early morning episode and maybe start on a nice high note with a happy birthday, Matt LaFleur.
And Jordan Love's was yesterday.
Happy belated, J Love, too.
First of all, there's a morning session for us, so we're still kind of getting going. But, I had to say I was just completely knocked out of me with the news of Rasul Douglas getting traded. I mean, easily in my top 3 Packers on this team, and he climbed the ranks of, in a solid list of guys that I hold in a high regard as in terms of just fan favorites that ever kind of got to wear the green and yellow for Green Bay since I became a fan. He's just the story you got to love, everything he gave, the passion that he shows, not afraid to get dirty in tackling, key play after key play in his short tenure here, but fans loved him, players loved him. I think they're going to have a tough time replacing that. Not only the talent level, but they don't have a guy on that defense that is the focal guy and holds guys accountable and is the emotional leader. I think that was your guy.
Yeah, he was just seen walking Jordan Love off the field with his arm around him in last week's game, and him and Aaron Jones were sharing a moment and a few tears in the locker room. Like, immediately when I heard it, I'm like, this is going to cause some riffraff and it's going to hurt the morale of the team inside the locker room. And sure enough, when I watched Jaire Alexander's locker room interview, you couldn't help but feel the energy in the building was taken out of it, and almost like it was the feeling of a wake going on. Like Jaire's like, yeah. I went to work that morning and got a text about Rasul. I'm like, geez, you must turn your phone off when you leave 1265. So I'm like, I'm surprised that your phone wasn't blowing up about that news. But that's a tough one. I mean, I can see how it makes sense because when Eric Stokes comes back and maybe they've seen some more things out of him that we haven't, that it is a crowded cornerback room with 3 boundary corners and Jaire likely not playing the slot. But yeah, that one hurts. Like, I could ask you the question, Dave, and we'll save it for the offseason. Like, who are your top 5 favorite Packer players of all time? People wouldn't think of. Yeah. Rasul would probably crack that top 5, I'd imagine. And the Bills are getting a true one. They're getting a dog. I was telling one of my friends who's a diehard Bills fan, he's like, what's Rasul like? I'm like, you have yourself not only a great cornerback, but somebody that's going to lift the sails of the team.
That Bills defense now has Micah Hyde and Rasul Douglas, so I'm jealous of Bills fans out there. Before we kind of get into the preview, one quick story on the Rasul Douglas trade. Brian Gutekunst called him. Now, granted, they're not living inside 1265. It's probably their off day, or he did his workout and he went home. So he didn't actually go to the building. Brian Gutekunst called him, told him he's traded. Douglas thought it was a joke and hung up on Brian Gutekunst. They had to get Mark Murphy to call him and say, this is real. You're traded to the Buffalo Bills. And then that's when kind of the floodgates open with him and Aaron Jones and all that stuff. Like, oh, you guys aren't joking around. So I just thought that was interesting. Now, people could take it the wrong way and say, wow, look at how the Packers front office handles it. Aaron Rodgers is right. They don't show their, veteran players the right way to do it. Should call them in. I mean, if it's your off day or whatever it is, that's just the way of the NFL. You got to reach the player somehow. I'm sure the guy doesn't want to drive 15, 20 minutes to work just to tell him that he's working somewhere else. So I could see kind of both sides of it. But anyway, we're on to the Rams. We're down another guy. now it's time for Valentine to step up until Stokes kind of takes that spot when he comes back from IR.
The unfortunate part about it, Dave, is that I think Joe Barry is going to sit up in the press box and be absolutely ecstatic that he can now play his style of defense, getting back to the soft zone coverage, playing 8 yards off, because there is no way he's playing press man with both Jaire and Carrington Valentine. You're going to see a lot more paper cuts down the field and these long 8, 15 play drives that just eat up the clock.
That's the crazy thing. He has the horses to play press man. Valentine's best skill all throughout training camp was press man. You witnessed it in flesh and blood at that practice field. Rasul Douglas's best quality is press man. Like Jaire is his best press man. So there is a disconnect between what the front office is giving this coaching staff and what this coaching staff is asking these players to do.
I have a disconnect to bring up here later on the offensive side of the ball. But yeah, you're 110% right. But wouldn't you believe that Joe Barry, because he has a rookie cornerback, he saw Cortland Sutton beat Carrington Valentine a few times in that game against the Denver Broncos, that he's likely going to play off and try to give as much cushion and not get beat by the deep play down the field with his rookie cornerback.
So I got a question for you. How much leash does Barry have? I'm just wondering, because if the Rams slice and dice this defense with a guy they picked up literally off the street. Like, I'm not even sure what he was doing this entire time. He was like
old Brett Ripien from BSU.
Their fourth option of the guys they wanted to sign. Like, if he slices and dices you, is that players being let go, players benched? Is it just LaFleur saying, I need to save my own ass and letting Barry go? Or is it just business as usual? And it's like, well, this is the new Packer way. Like, are we just content with that?
I think we're content with it. You brought up the disconnect. They're somehow going to say that somebody's playing their best ball afterwards, and that they're going to let them off the leash. Yeah, there's some guy named Puka for the Rams, 5th rounder wide receiver out of BYU, almost close to 1,000 yards receiving, and I could see him having quite the day on Sunday against us. Accountability probably not going to be in place if you have maybe 4 more of these type of games, because now the defense, they're going to let up more than 20 points. It was like, hey, we should win these games less than 20. I don't see from here on out, especially after that Steelers game, how we're going to hold teams under 20 now. So yeah, I think the expectations sort of change there. And no matter, I think it's inevitable that Joe Barry's out after this season either way. But I do think on Sunday, what are we, like one of the last teams in the NFL in terms of turnovers? Yes. With 6? I do think that we generate a couple turnovers on defense.
I think we're up to 7 after the fumble recovery last week, but it's still extremely low. We got to create a shirt that says, like, this is the best podcast we're creating, or some type of ploy off of that.
I like it.
But yeah, I don't know what the coaching is seeing in certain stuff. Like you brought up Josh Myers. This is the best ball he's playing. When there's another guy, granted, Zach Tom is phenomenal, but there's a guy that took his spot for 4 snaps, and you could see a world of difference between him and Zach Tom just within 4 snaps. So the press conferences were interesting this week. It seemed like they got on Watson's ass a little bit, saying that, he needs to start stepping up and you got to earn the right to take the deep shot and all that stuff. I don't know if you heard that one. I guess he's not kind of.
Yeah. And to your point, it's like funny. We bring up these things right after the game, and then they unfold throughout the week with beat writers bringing them up about Watson's lack of high pointing the football, and maybe didn't have a ton of contested balls in college. And he's not attacking it the right way. Like they showed what the passer rating is last year compared to this year when targeting him. One thing I will say, touch upon the offensive line, and even Gutekunst backed up what Adam Stenavich said about this is Josh Myers' best year of ball. His leadership in the locker room, which I don't know if I'm the offensive line, if I want to be following in his footsteps, his physicality as well. So Gutekunst backed up what he said. I'll tell you this much, like Packers on the Rocks fans, if you're wondering if things are going to look different on Sunday, if Rasheed Walker is out there at left tackle instead of Yash Hyman, you're going to see more of the same. I think there's still going to be some penalties on Sunday, even if Yash is in there. But that just shows stuck in your ways if Rasheed Walker is ruled out there once again.
I think Yash, and if the foot holds up, I think Yash starts. I mean, I would sure hope Yash starts. Or we're going to do one of these things where it's like Walker plays the first half. He does not look good, looks inconsistent. And then they're like, okay, I guess we'll roll out Yash. Or it might just be, remember when they're constantly switching guys out? Like it'd be like a series for Dave Bakhtiari, and then it'd be a series for like Jenkins or someone else, how they had Bakhtiari on a pitch count. See they rotate by series.
I'd be more than happy with that than more of the same. That at least shows that they're making corrections. Otherwise, I'm like sitting here thinking to myself last night, I'm like, what's it going to take for this offensive line to stop getting in their own way? I'm like, maybe we start doing the wave as a fan base when we're in offense, or on practice, you just accept that we're going to have penalties and we need to practice more second and third and long plays. We need to be spending a chunk of practice doing that. But it's like, what are the answers to get this offensive line right first and foremost?
I would say for this game, have something else to like do during this game. I see it being like 10-6, 13-6, somewhere in that realm of neither offense doing anything. They have a quarterback that probably doesn't know the offense all that well, who is making a start that doesn't have any experience with the players surrounding him. So I see the Rams being sluggish on offense. I see their defense being a bit of a threat, and I see us doing more of the same on offense. So I think it's going to be very low scoring. Could be like even a 6-3 game. But yeah.
What's your answer for Aaron Donald? We've gotten the best of him the last couple times. I know he hasn't been at 100%. Like I was just watching highlights of him choking out Lucas Patrick, him fighting Elton Jenkins the year before that. It's like we need to keep our run plays to the outside. It's like, what do we do? I mean, but Josh Myers is playing his best ball, so he should be able to handle him solo, right?
Donald might get 4 sacks this game.
I wouldn't put it past him.
Like I know that seems ridiculously high, but I think he at least gets like 2.5. I think they're just in the backfield constantly.
And we have nothing to be able to counter that. Keep your run plays outside. Continue to do your screens or end arounds and slant plays. Try to hit the middle of the field with Wicks as much as possible.
Yeah, it's going to be quick hitters.
My call.
Quick hitters. Hopefully get them under center.
Good luck with that.
Defense has the advantage, though, because they can move the guys around as much as they want. If Jenkins is stonewalling him or Zach Tom's stonewalling him, you know that they're eventually just going to put him over like Runyon or Myers and just say, okay, like these are the two guys you could beat. Or line them up against Walker or Yash and just be like, well, we know you can handle those guys. So that's 3 out of our 5 offensive linemen he could just line up on and get into the backfield in a blink of an eye.
It's probably going to look a lot like what Max Crosby did against us in that Raiders game.
Yes, that's a perfect example of it. Defensively, what would you like to see? Because offense, it's going to be the same old. I don't have the trust in the offense to change their scheme to dial something up. I think it's going to be you're going to live by the drop, die by the drop, how much pressure they get. There might be some cleanup in route running, but I don't see much changing. I think it's going to be the defense that's going to have to win this ball game.
Yeah, and you got Brett Ripien from Boise State playing. Load the box on him. Force him to beat you. Have Rudy Ford, who I think has been excellent in the run game. PFF stats back that up. Have him play more near the line of scrimmage. Devondre Campbell be playing in his 2nd straight game, so getting some consistency with that as well. And who knows? Quay Walker could have another opportunity to bring an interception down. There's been that Bears game that he brought one in. He's missed a couple of other opportunities, but he's in the right spot. And besides that, like let's get some more blitzes going. Preston, I think, came alive these past couple games, but we'd still need something to generate more rush because Kirk had a pretty clean pocket last week.
I have two guys on my list that I want to see. I want to see something on them this week, and I think they will. I have Carl Brooks getting a sack this week, and I have Carrington Valentine getting his first career interception this week.
Beautiful.
How do you see this game
I support that. I would go with the Keyshawn Nixon interception in this one. And I don't want to be greedy and ask for 2 interceptions or a forced fumble. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Keyshawn Nixon interception along with a Rashawn Gary 2-sack performance. He's coming off that contract extension. I'm like, one of the things I'm most excited about being at Lambeau once again is that the defense is going to be introduced on Sunday. And like, that's the loudest pop that you get is now during play introductions and him being last in line.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of what I expect out of the defense, and still some pretty long drives. And you're like, damn, who is this? There's going to be a lot of Google searches from Packer fans saying, who is this Puka guy and why did we not draft him?
How do you see the game playing out as a whole? Like, what's your final score? Do you have it kind of the same thing, slow moving as I do, or do you see it being different?
So Matthew Stafford is still questionable for the game. They're going to, wait until the very last second on Sunday to call it. He's got the Aaron Rodgers right thumb injury. Matt Stafford plays, they're putting up 27, 30 points on us, even with a bad thumb. If he doesn't play and Brett Ripien's out there, I see this one being as a 20-13 Packers win.
Okay.
We're going to hold him to some field goals, and the defense, they're going to have the 1 turnover by Keyshawn Nixon. And on offense, it's funny. You look back at some of the previous games against the Rams. It was just like a couple seasons ago that Aaron Jones had like 7.5 yards per carry and almost 100 yards rushing and 17 attempts. It's such a bizarre number to see with Aaron Jones with 17 rushes. Like, as long as we start to pick up first downs early, and I think I'll go as far as predicting for this game, Dave, that we're going to get a first down within the first 3 drives this time, not 4. Yeah, we're getting better. We're improving, and we're down to 3 drives. But if we can get some first downs, I think Aaron Jones can get at least 12 touches in this game.
Will we score any points in the first quarter?
3.
Okay.
Yeah, whopping 3. How about yourself? I know you said 6-3. I hope that's not the final score. Final score that you're seeing. We got the World Series score here.
Yeah, I see it being 13-6. I still think it's super low scoring. I'm afraid to take the Packer win. I'll stick my neck out and say this is a game we win, 13-6. That's if Stafford doesn't play. I'm just going with, I think he's ruled out. I think it's Ripien. If you don't get this game, you're sliding to like 9 losses. This is the game you circle and say, you gotta have it. Because if you don't, the schedule starts getting daunting. And if you can't win with someone's like 3rd string quarterback, you're in a lot of trouble.
You're in free fall to like the nth degree. And
then it's like, when do we get our next one?
Your Joe Barry point, like there's coaches that could be getting shown the door in the 8 weeks to follow after that. And even Brian Gutekunst wouldn't commit to Jordan Love. And that's A-okay by him, saying that these next 10 games are going to tell us a lot. Besides that, Dave, you got any parting words or things on your mind for getting this Packer fan base rejuvenated or galvanized to keep them going through this rough stretch? Because that was a lot of questions I saw this week. Is what's your message to Packers fans?
I'm at the point where I don't care if it's on offense or defense. Just Lambeau needs to get loud. I know it's been like a ballet at Lambeau the last couple of weeks because the offense has shown next to nothing and the defense is just getting gassed. Just scream your lungs out for all 60 minutes.
I'm going to do my part, Dave. And we brought it up earlier this week on our phone call. Like, if nothing else, give us like a 2008 loss.
Yeah.
Where we look formidable on offense. We look competent. I'm fine with us losing a field goal there at the end. Just give us something to cheer about. Like, if we get a 35 yarder completion down the field, Dave may do a cartwheel in his living room because he's that excited. Like, give us something to cheer about.
I would even go back as far as '05. Do you remember '05? How that team was like 4-12, but at least they were like showed some level of competence, some level of excitement. There was high scoring games that we like just lost. Like it wasn't a great team, but it was an exciting team. Obviously, they weren't a great team. They were 4-12, but I can't deal with basically watching a documentary every single week. It's like
on how not to run an NFL offense. And
it's
that's a shout out Sam Kangata, because that was exciting seeing him in the second half of the season.
There we go. All right. We're going to do the post game after the show. Hopefully, we get a win. Hopefully, we see some points. We get to see some fireworks, because I can't take much more of just literally watching Lambeau Field's grass grow.
It's not growing that much. They talked about that it's from Norway and all this and that during the stadium tour, but that's a different conversation for another day. Dave, you could have a conversation as well with Devin Hine post game. He will be at Lambeau to watch the game and potentially give his thoughts in this spin the wheel game that this offense has been playing.
Bring everyone on. We'll have a panel.
pull any fans from the crowd.
pull LaFleur from the crowd, like we were mentioning before. You know, are they eventually going to give the ABCD of the fans get to pick the next play?
Yeah, because they do the ABCD of like guess how many fans are in the stadium today. Is it 72,069? Just like do a 4-choice multiple choice question of which play should we run here next. And LaFleur's parents are just down the way. They're right across. They're the next building to me. Maybe I have a word with them and they come up and give their thoughts on this season as well. We'll see.
Man, I'm going to let you hang it up and you enjoy the game, man.
Likewise. Enjoy the wedding. Talk Sunday.
Yes, sir.